We are, yes. And that, for the purpose of that, it will be posted on our website as well as the slides will be available. So I'd like to introduce Stephanie, the chairperson of our Public Policy Committee, to kick off our Zoom meeting this evening of Making Your Vote Count.
All right, welcome everyone to our webinar. As my dog gets quiet here. So when Public Policy met in May, we started talking about how do we get people to understand about mid-elections or making sure they have the right information. And so as we started working at this, we thought we would be doing this at the end of July, and then realized that with the partisan election in August, we needed to move this up. So that's why we're doing this sort of in the middle of July, which seems sort of an odd time. But we started talking about all the things that we need to know to make sure your vote counts. So that includes everything from registration, how to get your vote there, whatever it might be. So why this webinar? We put it out in there for you. Midterm elections are very important. Often they're ones people don't vote in. So we want people to understand and make sure that they get their vote to count. The upcoming elections will have a direct impact on issues affecting women. And that's where we're going to focus this year, again, back on women's issues. So stay tuned for more information, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. And so right now I'm going to introduce Jackie Klimaszewski. She is on our State Public Policy Committee. She's also the Policy Committee Chair for Appleton. And she's been the Director of Voter Services for League of Women Voters in Appleton. So she's had a lot of chance to hone in on her skills on this. She was previously a poll worker and a chief inspector for City of Appleton, and she's participated in the 2016 audit, and she does a lot to help registration happen for voters here. So Jackie, you want to take it away?
Yes. And she's really smart too.
It's nice to have fans. Thank you for the introduction, Stephanie. And while I do have these experiences that you've mentioned, with the election process, there are always unique circumstances and questions. I may know some of the answers, but I don't think I know all the answers of what could possibly come up. But I will promise you that I will send you in the right direction to find those answers if you've got questions that are unique to me. So I do need to, I feel it's very important here to start off with the idea that AAUW is nonpartisan. Again and again, I need to repeat this. That means we don't support or oppose parties or candidates. That is not to say we are not advocates, and we do need to be advocates. AAUW is all about advocating for issues for women and girls. And, you know, if you think about some of those, our four key ones: economic security, education, laws and policies that enable women's success, such as Title IX, family leave, public education, women's health. Wow, there's a ton of things. And the only way to make our voice heard is through voting. And I need to just reiterate here, if you've heard this before, that when you contact politicians with an issue that are holding office, your voting record is public knowledge. They don't know how you voted, but they know if you are a voter. And believe me, if they know you are a voter, your voice will be listened to more than someone who's, they can go on there and say, well, they're not even registered to vote. Hey, it makes a difference. So the other thing I wanted to add is that because one party or another is for or against a position that we advocate for, that doesn't mean we support or oppose that candidate or that party. It's unfortunate that sometimes a party that does not agree with one of our positions will say we're partisan. We do focus on issues, not parties. So what are we going to cover today? Here's our agenda. So I want to talk about what's the same, what has changed in the voting process as we go into August and then into November. I have a few comments on voter registration, absentee ballot, early voting, and oh yes, drop boxes. We'll talk about that just a little bit. and any special situations. Now, we've kind of come up with these topics from the committee, the Public Policy Committee, and having been an AAUW member for years, and kind of knowing where we're at as a group, a lot of these questions have come up. So that's kind of how this presentation was formulated. And I have special thank you here for Mary Messerlie, who's on the Public Policy Committee, and she's going to be monitoring the chat, so that I'm not going to be reading the chat. So she may be inserting a question that has come up during the talk where it fits, or she may save a question till the end, depending on what the question is. So we'll do our best to answer all those questions. And as I said, if I can't answer it, I'll point you in the direction of where you can find that answer. Okay. So let's get started. What has stayed the same? So the process at the polls should look pretty similar to what you've been used to all along. You're going to need that Wisconsin ID, and that's usually your driver's license. The address on there doesn't need to be current, because for when you get to the polls, you're already registered and you are just proving who you are. When you register, you need to prove your residence, and so that's a different issue. But when you're at the polls, you need your ID, passport, license, whatever it might be. You have to state your name and address, and then you are issued a ballot number. And then you exchange that for your ballot, and then all those rules regarding accessibility, assistance, privacy, etc., are the same. And I'm going to take a deeper dive into those because I think it's,
Jackie,
yes.
we just had a real quick question come in. Wisconsin IDs, where do you get a Wisconsin ID if I do not have a driver's license?
You can go to the Wisconsin, the DMV.
Perfect.
And so you go through the kind of the same process that you would get the license. You just don't have to take a driver's test. And let me repeat this. This is important. If you are getting an ID for voting purposes, you should not be charged for that. So you can go there. You're still going to need to prove who you are, birth certificate, all those kinds of things. And you can go on the DMV and find out all the list of things that you might need to bring. And you have to get there, which is an issue for some folks, but that's where you get the Wisconsin ID. It's not an ID just for voting. Has multiple purposes.
And
Okay.
we also had a contributor that mentioned you can also go to your county courthouse and also get an ID. So thank you. We'll move on.
There is a short list of yeah, and there are other ways that you can get IDs, but for most of us, those are the biggies. Those are the ones that are go-tos. Okay, so behind the curtain, if you will, here's what happens that you probably don't see much of that are really, really important. And these are security features and safeguards that have been in place and will continue to be in place. So I think it's important in this climate that we talk about these. So there is a maintained registered voter list. Every voter and ballot is tracked in a statewide database so that there is only one active ballot per registered voter. Voter registration is connected with the DMV, and when a voter re-registers because of a move, the new entry supersedes the old one. So if you've registered in Platteville and now you've moved to Wyowega and you register in Wyowega, that is your only current voter address. The one in Platteville is no longer existent. So people really can't vote in more than one place at a time. This registered voter list, some of you may still be in locations where there's an actual book, but most of us have switched to Badger books. And this is an electronic poll book. So all the information is in there. It's updated immediately, but here's an important thing. It is not connected to the internet. So there's no interference with that. It has just made the lives of poll workers a whole lot easier because everything that they need to know about the person standing in front of them is right there on that sheet, right there on that screen. So they know when you state your name and your address, if you've already requested an absentee ballot or not. They know if this is your correct address or if you have to re-register. The actual vote count, that's done with tabulators. That's where you feed it to the machine and it counts the votes. That's not connected to the internet either. That's all done with memory cards that are set up by the county. Now, here's the important safeguard thing. The clerks do public testing on the week before the election of these. So if you have any concerns at all, you can ask to watch them and observe them do this public testing. It's public, so that everything is secure before that election even starts. After it's tested, this is sealed and it has a number on it. So the day of the election, the chief inspector has someone with him or her, and they see that that is the correct number that they're supposed to have. And they both have to sign off on it before that seal is ever broken and things begin. So that's an important thing to remember. These are tamper-proof. The memory card goes back to the city clerk and eventually ends up with the county canvassers. So let's go on to 4. Poll workers are trained. And there's like a couple levels of poll worker training. Not only are they trained, but they take an oath. And they work for the city or the municipality. If you're new to being a poll worker, you're not going to be a chief inspector. A chief inspector is someone who's done the whole voting thing, the whole process thing for years. And so they are kind of in charge. They're the ones who make sure that the newbie poll worker knows what they're doing. They monitor them. They do all the checks. And there is an unbelievable amount of paperwork, which is part of that checks and balances that I'm going to be talking about. So there's additional training for that chief inspector because they have to, they do things like if visitors come in and want to observe, there's a protocol that they have to go in and go through and sign in for that. If there are any issues, they have to take care of them. The chain of custody, number 5. This is really important. It basically says that ballots are never left alone. They're never left alone. There's always at least 2 people. So even when you're talking about things such as your absentee ballot and there's not somebody just opening the envelope. There are 2 people opening the envelopes. Everybody has a shadow. Everybody is watched on everything they do. This is true for completed ballots as well, all the way through the process. They're not left alone when they they're taken to City Hall or wherever the municipal clerk has to take them. If it's a larger community where there's more than one polling place, that those ballots don't go with just one person. Another poll worker has to go with them. There's always at least 2 people. Plus everybody who works at the poll is signing endless things before the night is over. 6, there's double checking of everything. As a chief inspector, I would double check every hour. How many ballots did we issue? How many ballots went through the machine? And they had a match. Otherwise, we figured it out. We had to stop there and say, what happened? What happened? Were too many slips issued or what's the deal? But at the end of the night, this is critical. The number of ballots that have gone through that machine, have gone through the tabulator, have to equal the number of ballots that were issued, that number that was issued. And nobody goes home until it's right. until you figured out what's going on. And so there've been some late nights sometimes in some poll workers. And of course, there are follow-up audits. The county canvas audit, that's done at the county level, where they've got people who go through everything. And then, of course, there are random state audits. And certain communities are audited perhaps a little more often than others. I would say like Appleton is, because they have 3 different counties. And so that adds an element of complexity. And so they are frequently requested one district or another to be part of an audit, which is just good. I mean, it gives you good feedback to know that all your processes are going well. So let me also say that ballots cannot be inserted multiple times into these machines. So the number of ballots have to match. Sometimes when the ballot goes into the machine, it might come back out. And why would it come back out? It would come back out because the voter didn't fill in all the blanks, perhaps. And so you've got a second chance to fill it out, to say, oh, I forgot that one. Or maybe like in this upcoming election, you voted across party lines. This is a partisan primary in August, and you can't vote for this candidate in this position on this party and then switch parties. You can only vote in one party. So if that's a mistake, that will come back out, and you have a chance before you leave that voting place. You have your chance to say, oh, what happened? Why did it come back out? And it'll be explained to you. That ballot will be spoiled. That's a technical term. And that ballot is kept. It is ripped up by the voter. It is put in a special bag. It's marked, and everything is notated about what happened there. Sometimes voters don't mark something because they didn't know who that person was. They don't know what's going on in that race. And that's fine. There can be an override. They put it back through and it'll count just the ones they want to count. That works too. So just so you understand, there's also a very specific and exact process for handling absentee votes. And we're going to talk more about absentee votes later. But again, they're never alone. There's a double checks on everything before they go through the machine. And it's no one person putting them through the machine. There's always 2 people watching them being put through. Safeguards. So at this point in time, I have to say, we should all be proud of our election system in the state of Wisconsin and the procedures that we're following. And I would encourage you, if you've got any questions, concerns, or interest at all, I know all over the state, they always need poll workers. So if you become a poll worker, ladies, this is the tip of the iceberg here. There's a lot more to learn and understand about those safeguards. So if that's the interest of all of this, it's a great community service that you would be doing. You do get paid, not a whole lot, but you do get paid. And it's a great service. So that's all staying the same as of this point in time.
Jackie,
Yes.
I thank you very much for underscoring and putting an exclamation point on the integrity of our election process. Just a real quick question, because we want to keep on pace.
Yes.
Tonight. Can an auditor see the actual ballot, i.e. who the person is voting for, that were inserted in the machine, or did they just see the numbers? Just a real short
The
answer.
auditors see the ballots. The ballots are kept for years, the actual paper ballots.
Okay.
And Wisconsin is big on actual paper ballots, which is a good thing. So the auditors they can see those ballots. They also have the notes of the chief inspector and anything that was irregular that might have happened, like the machine clogged up or whatever. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Jackie.
So now what about those changes? There are some things that have changed. And of course, the biggest change are boundary changes. Whoops. Why did you do that? Well, boundary changes. And these are what they are at the present time. So first of all, boundary changes are important and good. They're done after the census. And that's a good thing because people move. We're a very mobile country. And so the whole idea behind this is that if people move around over a 10-year span, and I'm just going to give you a crude example. If when the boundaries were set up, you've got District A and District B, and they both had 5,000 voters in them, but then, wow, they discovered gold over here and everybody moved there. And now you've got 6,000, 7,000 in one district and 3,000 in another district. That's not fair because you need that representative to be representing pretty much the same amount of people. And that was the whole purpose of the connecting this to the census in the first place. Now, some of you are asking, well, what happened with all of our gerrymandering? We're still working on the gerrymandering. Our Supreme Court decided, this is not in the Constitution, but they decided that the boundaries had to stay with the fewest boundary changes as possible to accommodate the numbers, okay? Which meant that we were starting with that faulty gerrymandered system, and so it was tweaked, but it's still gerrymandered. These are the biggest areas that the state was handling. So these changes have come across. There's still some things in litigation, and these may change again. Municipal districts and wards changed in our municipality after all of this came through. So it's always a really good idea for you to double check what's your ward. Some of you I know are interested in, well, how does the state map look? And that's why I put these websites on here, and this PowerPoint with these websites will be available posted on the webpage. And that's great for seeing the big picture of the state, but it's not so good for saying, yeah, but I live here. Where is that? what district am I in? So I'm going to suggest that the better way for you to find out what your district is, and check it out, is to go to this website. The webpage is myvote.wi.gov or vote 411, and I'll be talking about that a little bit later. This is the website that is the state of Wisconsin's voter registration website. This is the source. If you hit My Vote Wisconsin, it'll take you to the Wisconsin Elections Commission, which is responsible for this program. This is super easy to use. And if you're talking about how do I get registered to vote? If you've got a Wisconsin driver's license, it's super, super easy to do it this way. You don't have to fill out paperwork. And when we go to high schools and help students register to vote, they love this. This is right up their alley because it's so user-friendly. And you can see across the top here all of the things that this website can do for you. So my voter information, if I would click on that, it would have every single election in the state of Wisconsin that I voted for. You can find your polling place, you can find out what's on your ballot. And this is important when I'm talking about boundaries, because you may think you're in one congressional district and whoop, that line changed and you're in another. And you don't know who these people are. And you want to do some due diligence before you get into that polling booth so that you know who you want to vote for. If you've moved, you have to re-register. So you can update your name or address. You can register to vote. You can vote by absentee, by mail. You go to this site to request an absentee ballot, and you will have to figure out how to upload your ID to have that go through. They will request that of you. You can, and this is also important when we're repeating this, when we get to talking about absentee ballots, track your ballot. It will tell you if it's requested, if it's been sent out, if it's been received, and if it's getting to voting day, to election day, and it hasn't been received, you want to follow up. Okay, so track it, and then you can also vote absentee in person, and it explains what that is. So if you go to update my name or address, this is connected with the DMV. And say you just moved from Platteville and now you want to update your address. And it says, is your driver's license have your current address on it? And you say no. And the sheet, the actual program here will give you a link to the DMV. You change your address at the DMV, no cost, no pay. And then it takes you right back to this page and you register to vote. Okay.
Wait, it's a one-stop shopping, Jackie. That is awesome. I also put that website in the chat line so people can.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and this is a lot of what I've just said. Know that if you move, you 28 days, you have to live in that place for 28 days before that you get a new polling location. So if you're moving the week before and you don't have your legal residence as the new place yet, then you need to request an absentee ballot, or you need to go to the other place and do this, or you need to contact your clerk and work this out, or just not move by around election days. 28 days is a long time to not have moved, it's a month, I guess that's what they're thinking. So just an aside here. Sometimes I'm approached, because people in my branch know I do this. They ask about students in college for their family members. Maybe they got a grandchild who's going to be going to Platteville or somewhere. Students can use their parents' home as the permanent address for voting purposes as long as they're enrolled in college. But they have to request an absentee ballot in a timely fashion. We're talking about 18, 19-year-olds here. So that's really important. They have to request it in enough time to get it, to fill it out, and to get it back before election day. And this happens when kids have been, so they go to Platteville, wow, they've been there 2 years, and now they've got an apartment, and they kind of want to vote for the mayor or the alder people in Platteville because they're not so connected to wherever their hometown was. Then they need to re-register. And they need to re-register every time they move, even if it's across the hall in their dorm. And so, my kind of advice is if you think you're going to be moving around a bit, maybe you want to stick to getting that absentee ballot in enough time.
Jackie, a question, a real quick question that came in. Is this apply to the state trade schools too? And I'm thinking of WCTC, Gateway, Madison Area Technical College, MATC, so forth. Enrolled in college is enrolled in college, so it doesn't.
Yeah, I think for it doesn't matter. I think the deciding point here is I know we have Fox Valley Tech here, but most of those students drive in. They're living at home or they're living in an apartment. They're not living on campus. So they're still connected a little more to their original community. But as long as they're enrolled in college, this is an option for them.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Keep those questions coming in, ladies.
Okay. So if you go to My Vote, you can see who and what is on your ballot. That's it. Might be a problem if you look at that and you go, well, I don't know who any of these people are. So then you have to do some due diligence. And that's where the Vote 411 comes in. that is sponsored by the League of Women Voters. It has nonpartisan information in it. And I'll be talking about that a little bit more. So you can find your municipal clerk on here. And if you're new to a community, you'll have the polling location with a map, a little Google map on there, so you can find it. As I said, you can request that absentee ballot, and very important, you track that absentee ballot on this particular website. Okay, so let's dive into absentee ballots. This confuses people sometimes because there's early voting, but that's really technically absentee in-person voting. The absentee category means that vote is not counted immediately, like when you're at the poll. That you are basically filling out an absentee ballot at the clerk's office. It's sealed up, everything signed, the clerk signs it. And then it's put in a safe place. It's locked away until election day, because in the state of Wisconsin, no votes can be counted before election day. Okay, that's why it's absentee in person. Because the state has kind of said that it's 2 weeks before the election, but different municipalities are trying to accommodate their voters by having some of those hours later, which means they won't open up as early on some days. Some have been able to shift to a Saturday or a Sunday, but you really got to check with your municipality. Go to their website, their webpage, and they will give hours and dates and maybe locations in some of the very, very larger municipalities. There might be more than one location that early voting can happen. Or what we're mostly thinking about and using is the vote absentee by mail. Okay, so there's 3 types of requests that you can make for your vote by mail. The first is, oh my gosh, August, I'm going to be up north. I'm not going to be able to get back for August 9th. I'm just going to ask for an absentee ballot for that August 9th election. Or, and this is what I do since COVID anyway, I just request for the whole year. So in January, I could request ballots for all 4 elections this year. And I only have to do that one time each year. But here's the caveat. If you miss returning one, you may need to request it again, because that may drop you out because you didn't return a ballot for a particular date. And the other part of this is you have to sign up every year. Okay, so next year, whenever the elections are in January, I'm going to have to sign up again. Now, the third category, and this has gotten us as a state into some issues, indefinitely confined. This is not and was never ever meant for COVID. This is meant for people who had a disability for which they were indefinitely confined. I know that we all thought that with COVID was going around, we were indefinitely confined, but that's not this official category is for. So eyebrows were raised because of the numbers of people that were all of a sudden indefinitely confined. And when those eyebrows were raised and there's that kind of a splurge in something, sometimes people get suspicious. And why are there all of a sudden we have all these indefinitely confined? Well, it's just a matter of terminology, semantics here, but don't pick that one if you're not really indefinitely confined. Okay.
Jackie, 2 things. We just have a tiny bit of feedback, and I don't know if it's at your end or my end. So there might be a little noise, just FYI. And then
I'm not hearing anything, but
okay. We had a question. Is it true that they do not count the absentee ballots in-person ballots unless the numbers show they would make a difference? So is
no, that's absolutely not true. If you go in person and they are counted, they are put in with all the other absentee ballots. So
that's what I was thinking. So very good
absolutely.
question, and asked and answered. So thank you very much for that question. Keep them coming. Thank you, Jackie.
Oh, the question is then, improperly, why? What are the 4 reasons, big reasons why absentee ballots may not be counted? It's not because they were in-person voting. It might be because they didn't fill out the ballot correct. You know, those things I talked about, going through the machine, and you know, the partisan primary rules. If you fill out your absentee ballot and you've marked a few Republicans over here and a few Democrats over here, and maybe this Libertarian, they don't know what you really intend. That ballot will not count because you didn't follow the rules. You have to stick in one party. Other elections, you can cross over, no big deal, but this is actually named the partisan primary election, and we have to stick there. Now, maybe you didn't use the correct type of ink, or there are extra marks on it, or you put your coffee cup on it, and it didn't go through the machine. In this scenario, two people will look at that. They'll say, didn't go through. I bet it's because of those coffee marks on here, right? And they get another ballot, as is all noted, and two people will transfer it onto another ballot. It's one and duplicate one. They're connected and the auditors will see them. They're there. And then the one that is clean goes through the machine. But it is exactly what that person tried to do. That can't happen if they're all over the place in working in different parties and filling it out. That's just wrong. Okay, the other thing is maybe the voter signature is missing. This is on the envelope. You have to use the signature you registered with. So if I'm Jacqueline E. Klimaszewski on my driver's license, that's how I need to sign my name. If it's Eleanor, then I have to sign Eleanor. So if the voter signature is missing, they cannot count that ballot. What most municipalities will do is if there's enough time, they send it back to that voter and say, this isn't signed, and and then they have to send it back. And so the timing is an issue here because there's a lot of mail time, a lot of post office work. Also, sometimes they're not counted if the witness signature is missing or if the address is incomplete. Ladies, if you don't put your zip code on it, the clerks need to, at one point in time, they might have said, oh, I know that's whatever community, and put the zip code on. No. That would have to send back to you to get that witness to put their complete address on there. Again, takes time sending it back and forth, because if you send the ballot too late and they get it on Wednesday after the election, that ballot will not count. Okay, so I know that in the I know the municipality of Appleton, I know they have a good working relationship with the post office, and the post office will be delivering 2 or 3 times a day on election day if they've got ballots, so that they get into the clerk's office by the deadline, by the end of that date. Okay, so let's look with what that looks like.
Hey, Jackie, we're about the 7:10, 7:11.
Oh, okay.
And so in the interest of making sure we cover all the material, I'm going to hang on to questions. And then hopefully at around 7:20, 7:25, we'll have an opportunity to answer all the questions. So I'm just going to, please keep your questions coming in, but I'm going to hold on to them so Jackie can get through some of the other important information. Thanks, Jackie.
Sure. Thank you, Mary. Just a quick, this is what the envelope looks like. When you get it, I know mine has this is all printed out on a sticker because it's printed out from the electronic poll book. But here's where the voter signs and dates, and here is where the witness has to sign and date. Okay. And put their address on as well. And let's move on. Be a word about drop boxes, mailing them in. Bottom line is, there's a lot of words here, but bottom line is the Supreme Court of our state says mail them in. You either mail them in or you take them yourself all by your lonesome to that clerk to deliver it. You can take it to the clerk, you can take it to your polling place. My thought about that is if I'm not able to get it to go vote in person by myself, what makes you think I can take it to the election, to the polling place on the day of the election? Anyway, that's what the ruling is. Everything is not set in stone here. They didn't answer all our questions about drop boxes, but here's the bottom line is you mail it in as soon as you can. If you're disabled or otherwise unable to deliver your own absentee ballot, you can call your election clerk and make an arrangement. And they will give you, they sometimes have some specialized procedures that you can arrange to have your ballot be picked up. The other places, if you feel you're disabled and you're not getting the help you need, there is a disability rights hotline. And I'm going to talk more about disability rights here in a minute. So here's what things happen. You're in the hospital. If you're in the hospital stay as planned, get that absentee ballot. Sometimes those hospital stays are not planned. And so you have to request a ballot in writing from your clerk's office, and you have an appointed agent. So it's your son, your daughter, whoever. That appointed agent can pick up the ballot from the clerk's office, get it to you, get it filled out and get it back. Okay. Curbside voting. Again, if you have someone that will drive you up, I know there are some people who just want to be at the polling place and vote in person. Every polling place in the state of Wisconsin is required to offer curbside voting. I know in Appleton, there's a sign, there's a buzzer, you pull up at the driveway, you push the buzzer, and then folks come out, the polling workers come out and help you. There are procedures, very long procedures that have to go through, but it's completely legal and safe. So disabilities, more about your rights. And this may be eventually for you or someone a parent, they're disabled. Sometimes you have children that have a disability, they turn 18, they have a right to vote unless there is a guardianship that explicitly states that they cannot vote. So there's lots of guardianships, but that doesn't automatically mean you can't vote. It has to be adjudicated that you cannot vote. There's also lots of rules that the state of Wisconsin has about wheelchair accessibility and machines for the visually impaired or physically impaired. And there is this other term, you can have assistants. An assistant is a person who is not an employer or a union rep, that's what the law says, who can help you either read that ballot or mark the ballot. The assistant is not there to tell that person how to vote. They are just there to enable them to make the decisions around who they want to vote for and mark in the bubble if that's what they need to do, or read it to them if they're having trouble with that. Sometimes some older folks, they're a little shaky. That bubble gets a little hard to get through that machine. That assistant can help them fill in that bubble. The assistant must sign the ballot as an assistant, and this is noted in all of the books, the poll books, okay? And then I put in here, for more information, go to disabilityvote.org, because they have videos, they have advocates, they have all kinds of information. And this is one of those areas where it depends on your disability and what your needs are. So I'm just directing folks there. So the other thing that I get questions about and is an issue for our age group is voting in residential care facilities and retirement homes. Mom, dad, a loved one is, the times we've all had to make some of these really hard decisions, but yet they voted all their lives and you want them to continue to be able to vote. I put in here this link. There's 39 pages of rules and directions for some facilities, there are special voting deputies that the clerk arranges with the facility administrator to conduct absentee voting. Or residents may vote absentee from their previous address. Or they can re-register if they're at that facility for at least 28 days and then get an absentee ballot. Here's the deal. There are so many extenuating circumstances. And as I was going, how can I help? I'm just saying, here's some questions for you to consider as an advocate for your loved one. Deciding, is this a short-term or a long-term stay? Are they indefinitely confined? What is that category of facility? Is it a qualified retirement home? This is a decision that's made by the municipal clerk and means that they will send out the election registration officials, special voting deputies for the purpose of registration and delivering ballots. Can the administrator, and here's a biggie, can that administrator clearly and concisely explain the options for voting at their facility? This is their responsibility. This is something that they should be helping you with, and they should be able to make it clear to you if it's for yourself or for your loved one. So I'm going to reiterate here, there are so many extenuating factors. If you're not sure, you call your municipal clerks to get your answers for your special situation. And call in, of course, with enough time. Now, last thing, and then we'll take those questions. The last couple things, it's really doing your due diligence. And I've got two sites up here. One is my Vote 411. This is the one that the League of Women Voters sponsors, but also ballotpedia.org has a sample ballot lookup. This is what Vote 411 looks like. You put in your address and you can see what's on your ballot, and it gives you your races. And it tells you who's running and gives you information about them. If they send these questions to the candidates, they fill out the information. And so if you're saying, can I trust this? If you can trust a politician, yes, you trust this, because nobody else is interfering. This is what they're saying they believe. What are you going to do? Right? So here's what some of those questions might be like. And I just took the sample questions for the US Senate. Basic questions, because if you get more than 5, you don't get them to respond. Describe your priorities and your special qualifications, ideas to ensure efficient passage of federal laws that represent the wishes of the people getting at the whole filibuster. What will you do as a senator to ensure that the nation combats the threats from climate change? That one's for you, Barb. And gun violence and school shootings continue to plague us. What are your thoughts on that? And here's one that is a very big concern to many AAUW members. If elected, what will you do to ensure that everyone has equal access to healthcare services, including reproductive health and abortion care? These are just a sample, as I say. So for every assembly, et cetera, there's a different set of questions that fit with the kinds of tasks that position would need to make decisions about. But it is important that you find out who's on your ballot and find out some information about them one way or another. And with that, Mary, any
Yes,
additional specific questions?
We do have some questions, but before I begin with the questions, I would like to say, Jackie, you did an amazing and outstanding job. I knew you were smart on this stuff, but you are really super smart on this stuff. You just really took us down just so much information, so much helpful, resourceful information. I can't thank you enough for the time that you've spent and invested in preparing your slides and the research. You and I have had several conversations,
Yes.
And each time you just go back and do some more research, and our purpose was. And
Mary, this is an issue that is important to me.
Yes.
So.
And it's important to all of us, and yet you've really helped us navigate and kind of break it down so it makes sense. So a couple of questions here, Jackie.
Okay.
Must a poll worker be registered with a specific political party?
No. There are some elections where they're expected to say if they are or not, but I have never been asked if I was part of a political party.
Okay, good. The next question. Are people still able to witness an absentee ballot for someone in a nursing home?
Yes, if that person has an absentee ballot, but you need to be there to see them fill it out, because that's part of being a witness, right? You've seen them fill it out, and then you fill out the form, signing it, dating it, and getting your address on it. You can do that, yes.
Okay, excellent. A question came in that as you looked at the myvoter.gov, they
Yep.
were looking at their particular area and their representative had changed and they did not realize this. And they're just wondering, did the boundaries, have they changed? Have they been updated? Is that why perhaps this person didn't realize that?
Yes, they have changed. They are updated. Absolutely. As soon as they were changed, I think it took about a week for my vote to get that with the GIS and all the information loaded, but that is all current as of right now. Things change, but right now, yes. So your boundaries changed. And so if there are people on there you don't know, or a district you don't know, that's what happened.
Okay, excellent. And also a similar question on the 411 website.
Yes.
As you know, our landscape is changing every day in terms of issues and what is evolving. How current is that 411 website? If there was late breaking news last night, would that be updated on the 411 website?
No, the process is for state elections, U.S. Senate, state Senate, a state assembly, and any positions, lieutenant governor, all those kinds of things, that is sent out by the State League of Women Voters, those questions. And they are sent out, well, okay, it's July. They were sent out at the end of June. Now, having said that, those questions aren't going to change, but those candidates could go back in at any point and change their answers, because they have access to it. Those answers wouldn't be changed by anyone at the league, at the state office.
Okay.
But the questions are going to be those questions.
Excellent. And Nicholson has left the race, and a person had asked, but he's still on the ballot.
Yes.
So I suppose that they'll need to be updated, but tell us about that. I think at some point there's a point of no return, that the ballots have already locked and loaded.
Yes, yes, and this happens every once in a while. Someone says, oh, I'm running for office. They go through all that work to get on the ballot. Once they're on the ballot, they're on the ballot.
Okay. And
they're on the ballot.
Yes. And then, of course, voters, if they vote for that person that's no longer actively running, then that vote simply would not be counted.
Right, exactly.
Yes. So make sure that you're voting for people that are still active in the races. The deadline, what is the deadline, Jackie, to request absentee ballots?
You've got like the week before.
Okay.
So you can still request it but that deadline bothers me, because that's hardly enough time to get your ballot, fill it out, get it back before election day. So it's tight. So you can request it the week before, but like I said, you're taking your chances.
Okay. So the earlier the better. You said.
Oh yeah.
You're requesting.
Yes, please.
One of the other slides that you talked about is if we have loved ones, friends, family that are in assisted living or retirement communities, and you mentioned how the voting is conducted. I happen to go around to a couple of facilities here in Brookfield, and it looks like there's not a one size fits all, but
right.
Clearly there's at each facility, there's someone that's knowledgeable, and depending on the size and how the facility is categorized, as you mentioned, either there will be a county clerk actually coming on site, absentee, but what I was really impressed with is the actual facility was very informed in terms of the residents' rights to vote.
And that's what you're looking for when you're shopping for a facility of that nature. Yes.
All right, so I see that we have the importance of midterm elections. This is the first of 2 webinar Zoom meetings that the public policy decided to initiate. And the second one will be September 15th from 6:30 to 7:30. The topics were what topics that you'd like to be covered. If you want to send an email to Stephanie's, whose email address is on this slide, or I would ask you if you would post in the chat if you have any particular topics, and I can capture those. And then we also, at the conclusion of, this is the first time that we've ventured into a Zoom meeting in terms of, you know, this particular area, but we felt the paramount importance of making sure that your vote accounts. These midterm and general elections is just, it's so critical to all of our strategies. So we wanted to make sure that we get some of your feedback. So we have a poll. We have a poll, and I'm going to launch. It's a simple question. And again, as you're looking at the poll in the last couple of minutes, put in your chat if there's any other topics that you'd like. I'm going to launch this poll and just asking, was tonight's information, you know, certainly was it helpful? Was it something you already knew? Very much, you know, just help us out. Feedback when we do these type of things is of critical importance. So we know, you know, if we got it right, we're going to celebrate. But if we need to calibrate or change a course or alter our course, we're happy to do that too. It's all good. But your feedback is pretty important. We'll give this another 30 seconds, a minute, and then we'll close. And I'll make sure if there's nothing else in the chat.
Then I'll stop sharing.
Well, and I also see excellent information. We also, Jackie, got a lot of affirmations just in terms of it's an important session. The information is certainly very helpful. And do it now if you aren't registered for an absentee vote. Excellent program. So we have a lot of late breaking news, Jackie.
Here's a question from Barb. Should we assume that state candidates are profiled by the league, but local candidates are not, like county board candidates? No. So the county board, mayors, alder people, that's where the local leagues come in. So I would need to, I personally actually, for Outagamie County, put in all of the supervisors and ask questions about county supervision issues. I put in the city of Grand Chute, the town of Grand Chute. I put in alderperson questions for, so local leagues do the down ballot, folks.
Okay, and I could share the results. We had 10% already knew the information, 20% it was helpful, and an impressive 70% had it was very helpful information. So once again, we wanted to start on time. We wanted to end on time. We wanted to be respectful and courteous of your time. So thank you so much, each and every one of you, for participating tonight. We got up to 16 participants, Jackie. I think well done for our first rodeo, I might say. It's been
and for the middle of July.
Yes, it's been a pleasure working with you. And
yes,
thank
Mary.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Wait, I have one question before you go. Is it possible that other that the individual groups, they'll be able to see it on the recording, but if they wanted the a copy of the presentation, yes, could they get it?
Frankie, I can answer that. The PowerPoint as well as the recording will be posted on the website. So if there's someone that for some reason does not have access to our website and cannot access the recording, please send an email to Stephanie, and I'm sure she can make arrangements, or we can make arrangements to actually email a copy. But that's a very large file, just so you know. So that was a great question. Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Okay,
Before we leave, I just want to make sure that we give a special thanks to both Mary and Jackie. They worked intensely on this, so they have put in a lot of work for us. And
High five, Mary.
Congratulations.
high five, Jackie, high five.
So again, great work, and please give us some idea of what you want for our next. We wanted this to be general information, but we want the next one to be more specific. So please, if you would give us some direction, that would be great.
So I'll just plant the seed that I think what would be great is AAUW issues. And how do we find out what the candidates are thinking about each of our individual issues that are important to us. So, you know,
This might be a time where we go into open records or something like that. So,
yeah.
and our move, then our next move for public policy is to do something where we're actually meeting with legislators going forward, because we haven't been able to do that for a while. So that's kind of our next move after this. So we've got some things already planned. Just a special thank you to the whole committee. We've been busy already for this coming year, way back in May. So almost as soon as we were done with convention, we were jumping into the next year. So great
Can we
committee.
post this link on our Facebook pages to the recording?
Can you what?
Can we post this link
Absolutely.
of the recording?
Absolutely.
That would be awesome, I think, to spread the word. 'Cause I think the general public needs to hear
Right.
from us and hear this. So
Yeah, at this point in time, it's general information that everyone wants to know. And as you can see, our title was Making Your Vote Count. So that's how when we were talking about this, it sort of went to that topic. It's what is those things you need to know to even get your vote out there. So
All right. Again, thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank you
nice
all for
evening.
joining us.
Have a nice
Bye.
evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie and Stephanie and
Hi, Becky.
everybody. Excellent.
Thank you. It was fun. It's fun working
All
with
right.
Mary.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Good night.
That was
Nicely done,
awesome.
ladies.
Great job. Stephanie, could I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I don't remember what you ordered for lunch for the board meeting.
I'm hoping I'm going to be going to an international convention, so I probably won't be back in time, but I don't know that yet. So that's why I haven't responded.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me know.
That's why you
when-
don't know. I'm
That's why I
waiting
don't know.
for
Ah,
a few things to fall in place before I can even get there. So, but it's that week.
oh, perfect. Oh, well, gosh, I'll miss you.
Well, I haven't got there yet, so.
Yeah, right. And overseas? Are you
No,
going to
no,
be
no, no. Well,
traveling?
no, it's an international group, but it's actually in New Orleans this year. So that's where I'm hoping to go.
Wait a minute. Stevens Point, New Orleans. Okay, I get it.
I know,
All right,
I know.
okay,
I'm not
okay.
there yet though, so. So that's why I haven't responded, but as soon as I know, I will
Okay.
let you know.
Okay. Hey, this was awesome, ladies. Thank you so much.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Yes.
I hope you always like to see more people attend, but it'll be out there for people, so. It'll be there
Yeah.
for them, for their branch meetings as well, so.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping to bring it to our branch. Thank you very much. Night,
right.
ladies.
Good
All right.
night.
Good
Night,
night.
everyone.
See you later.